I know that I'm talking to hundreds of thousands, millions of you who have lived or are living right now that existence where you know that your child needs to detox and you feel like you've thrown every detox kit and option at them and they're still struggling. They're still sick. They're maybe worse. And if you retested, maybe they didn't even get better. What gives? That's this episode. Welcome to the Experience Miracles podcast, where we help parents find hope, answers, and drug-free help to overcome your child's chronic health challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be sharing my experiences as both a dad and a doctor on every episode. I can take the latest science and neurology of healing and break it down in the most simple and relatable way possible. We'll take on the toughest topics and answer your biggest questions through interviews with other amazing parents and leading experts, leaving you with practical action steps that you can take to help your child heal and thrive. It's time to expect and experience miracles. Let's get started. Okay, parents, I don't know why I waited until year 2 here of the Experience Miracles podcast to get you this episode and this so needed topic on how to safely, smoothly detox your child. So we're going to be talking about detoxification, which is a very, perhaps you could really say, along with like neuroinflammation and the microbiome, this is a top 3 topic for sure in the natural, holistic, functional medicine world. I bet the vast majority of our listeners have gone to at least some lengths to detox their child. You've at least done some herbal stuff, some homeopathic, some Epsom salt baths, some supplements that are maybe in the lighter range. But I also feel like the vast majority of you have probably already gone down the cell core, BioRay, maybe even, deeper levels of detoxification pathway, because as we cover again and again on this podcast, rightfully so, just incompletely so, what you've been told in the natural, holistic, functional, biomedical space is that toxins are the number one cause, number one trigger of chronic illness, autism, pandas, PANS, POTS, you name it. The conversation always in our natural, holistic, functional world basically starts with and stays with toxins. But the conversation we have here on the Experience Miracles podcast that is entirely not different, it's just deeper, is to say, why are toxins getting so trapped, so stuck in our kids' bodies today differently than we used to? Because if we say, and the neurophysiological sequence on this is accurate as can be, the science is strong, both in the research and the science is strong, most importantly in what we call clinical observations. Remember, I have been in practice, still am, taking care of the most complex, chronically sick kids. So when we talk about things on this podcast, it's not what used to work 20 years ago. We're not even talking about protocols from 2 years ago. Like, I'll be in practice, we'll figure something out, one little tweak, one little change, one little scientific finding, clinical observation, then we implement it, then we see whether it works or not, and then we come talk to you about it. The speed with which we're delivering this real life, this works, this doesn't, here's how, in what order, that'll make sense why I keep saying that, on this podcast is really quite something that I know you don't find anywhere else. So please continue to tune in, subscribe, throw a review. We really would love if you could subscribe, if you could review, and if you could share this. It is time to take this work to the world, especially this conversation about how to safely and smoothly detox your child, because those that are in my absolute awesome best friend space of holistic, functional, biomedical are not having this conversation with you. The providers, the practitioners, and I know this, I've talked to hundreds of them over the years, from Autism One to the incredible conferences I've been able to attend, first in my learning mode, and now God has blessed me to be there, keynoting, speaking, being on panels. And I bring this conversation up every single time about neurological dysfunction being the reason that kids have limited detox pathways. And then here's the clinical protocols we must shift and update to make sure our kids don't get worse when they detox, they don't regress when they detox, and they can successfully detox. And nobody's having this conversation with you. I'm telling you, it's not the only conference that I was able to really get with people who really understand this is the Documenting Hope conference. Shout out to Beth Lambert. That is a great listen, one of our early episodes. It's getting out there, but I want to get it to you as parents first, because toxins aren't new. So if we're going to blame this sequence of toxins getting trapped in our body, then it disrupts the microbiome, then it triggers inflammation, then that inflammation gets into the bloodstream, gets into the brain and the nervous system, and that causes neurological conditions like autism and so forth. That is accurate. I'll say it one more time. That is an accurate neurophysiological sequential pathway. It is totally true. It is totally happening. And there is way too many toxins, way too many pollutants ingested, injected, and inhaled. So our environment, our medical system, just absolutely the toxic load theory. We'll link that article in this website too, in this episode too, in the show notes. All true, but you need more information than this. The reason that kids regress and have the emergence of new symptoms when you go through and do a heavy metal detox is one of two. I might sneak in a little bit of a third, which is just an extension of one of these. But the number one reason is it's too soon. Your child's nervous system, when we go through the perfect storm here in a few minutes, and we really lay out the sequence or the order with which kids get sick, if there is underlying neurological dysfunction, dysregulation, and what's called subluxation, sympathetic dominance, dysautonomia, these kind of myriad of terms that all mean very similar things, if that is happening foundationally, because in their perfect storm case history, that problem within the brain, the nervous system, and the body foundationally was triggered first, those neurological conditions limit entirely via what's called a neurogenic pathway, not genetic and not environmental, but an internal neurogenic pathway. It will limit, suppress, and shut down or interfere with the body's natural own detoxification and elimination pathways. So the number one reason that your kiddo may be struggling, regressing, and getting worse during a detox from heavy metals and a whole bunch of other things we'll talk about, whether it's parasites or environmental pollutants, if you've done the testing and you know you've done blood work, O-test, hair, stool, urine, you name it, and you got myco this and excitotoxin this and all of those things in there, and you've talked to your incredible practitioner and you've got online and done your research and you know, holy cow, these are neuroinflammatory markers. These are destroying the gut. These are creating neuroinflammation. They're getting into the brain and they're wreaking havoc. You're absolutely correct. But what if you're going to get them out of there and things are getting worse, not better, and the regression and the detox of symptoms that you were told, reason number two, which is true and absolutely happens a lot of times, even when it's the right time, the right order, that it's a natural part of the healing process. But what if it's not? So reason number one is the detox likely was put forth in your child's healing sequence and overall care, or we don't use the word treatment in our work, but everybody else does. So I'll just insert it here for similarity. In their care protocol and care sequence, if the detox was put forth and recommended in a too soon of a batting order before their nervous system is stable, resilient, and has some ability to regulate and function on its own, then they're going to get worse with the detox. And it's not a get worse to get better. It's they're going to get worse. Now, when we get things in the right order, when we can go through and we can foundationally address nervous system dysfunction, dysregulation, dysautonomia, and we can at least, as I like to teach our parents, get your child's neurological head above water metaphorically. And I'll talk about how nervous systems get so disrupted, destroyed, and suppressed so that they can't even handle good things like Cellcore, like BioRay, like even maybe softer versions like homeopathic and Epsom salts, okay? So we'll talk about the science that's really underneath all of this. And if we address that first and the nervous system gets more regulated, functions better, has more what we call coordination and these primary functions of ability to assimilate good things, including maybe the binders and those agents that are going to come in and help the body, and then assimilate, absorb first, then assimilate, which means move it to where it needs to go. And the nervous system directs even all the chemicals, all the supplements, everything in the body is directed by the nervous system. It's in charge of neurogastric absorption. Hey, you're good. You're a macronutrient. Your magnesium, your good things, the nervous system is always reading and saying, hey, you're good, get in here. When the nervous system is connected, when there's not subluxation interference, the nervous system is literally through the vagus nerve and what's called the enteric system. It lives within the gut and it's measuring and basically assessing. Think of it like a factory line. It's going through and it's an observation standpoint at all times. It says, those are good nutrients. Those are good things. Those belong in here. Grabs them, absorbs them, and then it's not done. Then the nervous system stays on the job and it takes the good stuff and it goes through what's called assimilation. That's a chiropractic primary function word that says, let me send you to the right piece, part, body, tissue, cell, and here's your function. So the nervous system, as God designed it, has this incredible innate wisdom and capacity to say, hey, these are good nutrients. These are good food substances. These are good supplements. These are good vitamins. Let me get them absorbed and assimilated so they can go in and do good things within the body. This is a neurological foundational function that must be online, not interfered with first. Nervous system's not done when we get into this detox pathway and detox conversation. The second thing the nervous system does during this interchange is it also identifies the bad guys. When we talk about an autoimmune response, it's inappropriate, it's incomplete to call it an autoimmune response and think of it as an immune system dysregulation. It's a neuro-autoimmune response. It's the nervous system that is identifying the toxins, the foreign agents, the pathogens, all these different things we'll talk about here as we get rolling, and saying, you're not good. You're not supposed to get in here. And so if the nervous system is subluxated, which means interference of sensory function. So again, the vagus nerve, the enteric nervous system is first on the sensory read before react side. So this is the sensory nervous system, or the internal enteric nervous system, and vagus nerve and some other nerves do this. They have to identify what's good and what's bad. And then just like on the good side, we had to absorb it and get it in, get it assimilated, get it to where it needs to go so it can do its function. It's not just a one-step process, it's a multiple-step process on the good side. It's also a multiple-step process on the detox side. The nervous system needs to be completely connected. The sensory, vagus nerve function especially, needs to be online, functioning, expressing, communicating clearly with no subluxation, no interference between the gut, the body, and the brain, so that the brain and nervous system can recognize accurately that's a toxin, that's a heavy metal, that's a parasite, that's a pollutant. And then it needs to grab a hold of it and then get rid of it. So it's similar on the other side of the coin to the assimilation and the organization. Once the nervous system, if it's able to read accurately, hey, that's a toxin, it then knows what to do with it. It then activates the body's natural own detox pathways, the liver, the kidneys, the adrenals, all the stuff you've probably learned a ton about. And it says, okay, neuro-liver, neuro-kidney, neuro-adrenal, neuro-detoxification, neuro-elimination process. Now the nervous system orchestrates, modulates, and governs that function. And the nervous system, with the help of the tissues, organs, visceral, physiological system, will grab a hold of those toxins and get rid of them when the nervous system is functioning at its best. So here's the net thesis truth. When the nervous system has no subluxation, no interference, no dysfunction, dysregulation, dysautonomia. Dysautonomia is when the sympathetic nervous system is stuck running the show, fight or flight, tension, constipation, limited detoxification, neuroinflammation, all come from an excessive sympathetic response. And the other side, the parasympathetic, the vagus nerve, is in charge of digestive motility, absorption, assimilation, and elimination and detoxification. So when the nervous system is functioning at its best, it's the greatest detox elimination system all by itself. No kit, no chelation, no supplementation, no homeopathic intervention, no Epsom salts needed. Now, as I make that list right there, does that mean for every child forever forward who had perfect storm neurological injuries and damage, like a high stress fertility and pregnancy and fetal developmental journey, like birth trauma, forceps, vacuum, C-section, induction, that injure the vagus nerve and the brainstem and damage and shift the nervous system into this sympathetic neurological storm that then limits its ability to get toxins out? Does that remove toxins as a significant third foundational root cause part of the problem. No, it doesn't. Does it mean that even when we get these adjustments in chiropractic and nervous system regulation going and flowing and get the nervous system to its best function as can be, that we don't want to add in detoxification and say, hey, let's throw some extra support, some supplements, some binders at the body because it was injured by these toxins and let's get rid of them. No, it doesn't mean we don't do that. It means the batting order matters most. And all day, every day, nowadays in practice, and it was this way early because in the early stages, really in the biomedical community, actually what's coming out right now about red dye number 3 and every other number and every other toxin that is ingested, injected, and inhaled into our kiddos. Go Bobby Kennedy Jr., go Maha, go everybody. We're on that team and we're looking to be a pivotal part of that team. And we're looking to bring all those rock stars onto this podcast, by the way. Get ready for an incredible year of informed choice, medical freedom, natural health. Let's get this going. Get ready for those voices to show up on this podcast. We are blessed to have many connections. Many of them are lined up. I hope you're smiling hearing me say that. That movement, which is really starting with this conversation about big food and chemistry and pharma and getting all of these toxins just shoved into our lives, they're dead on accurate. That is so important. Getting rid of all those chemicals in our foods and our environment, having our kids have so many less freaking chemicals injected into their bloodstream for diseases that are not even around and calling it prevention. It's the biggest. It's hard to come up with a term as to how on the surface, on its face, obviously detrimental. And, it's always been called a conspiracy theory. No, that's just what they call it when the science is absolutely dead on accurate, has been for a long time. Many people know it and they're holding on with their last grip to their monopoly of making trillions. That's what it's called. Okay. That's just called clever marketing, gaslighting, and it's about run its course. Thank God. Thank you for allowing me that little rant in the middle of this one. Because as I look at the greater landscape that is happening in our world, I smile, I get excited, I am in full support. I will have those conversations on this podcast with those world changers, and we will talk about toxins, and we will talk about chemicals, and we will talk about the overuse of medications, we will talk about the overuse of vaccinations, we will talk about these things in our foods and in our cleaners and in our households and in our skincare products that got to get out of there. And we're talking about right now, how do we get them out of the body? The way we get them out of the body is we first, foremost, foundationally, have the conversation with you that no one else is having. It's actually the nervous system in this perfect storm sequence, science, and research that we now know, and we've seen 20 years we developed this clinically. We first put this together, I guess not a full roundup back in 2008. We know that it's not just toxins. We know that detoxing our kiddos isn't the whole picture of getting them better. And now what we know, and it's really the crux and the take home of this episode, if we go to detox too soon, you might be completely disheartened. You might have your perspective completely disrupted because you may think, we did it. They not only did they not get better, they got worse. It didn't work. That must not be the case. Or you may feel defeated, mom and dad, and go, I'll never get these heavy metals out of here. I'll never get these dang parasites out of here. Because how many of you have done all the functional, integrative, holistic testing, found all those metals, put your children through hundreds, dozens, thousands of dollars of supplements and detox kits and detox agents and tried them all and gone to the nth degree, not only seeing maybe symptoms and regressions or even the emergence of new symptoms, but then you ran the labs again. Then you did the hair test again. Then you did the urine test again. Then you did the stool test again. And some may be a little better, but those little suckers are still in there. If that's you, and I know I'm speaking to literally, if we ever get that reach, I know I'd be speaking to millions of parents today who awesomely, through the badass whatever it takes. I'll find the doctors to tell me the truth about toxins. I'll find the tests to show me that they're in there, and I'll put the supplements, the detox kits, and the agents in there to get them out of there. I know that I'm talking to hundreds of thousands, millions of you who have lived or are living right now that existence where you know that your child needs to detox, and you feel like you've thrown every detox kit and option at them, and they're still struggling. They're still sick. They're maybe worse. And if you retested, maybe they didn't even get better. What gives? That's this episode. What gives is subluxation, nervous system dysfunction, dysautonomia, and I can't believe I made it this far into an Experience Miracles podcast without some sort of random neuroscience dad joke infused. But here it comes. Through process of elimination, you can find the answer to what's really going on. Get it? Elimination, detoxification. We got really heavy there for a second, and I love you guys. And it's stressful. And that's an understatement of the century. It's so stressful and so exhausting and such a roller coaster to get our kids to heal, to go through this biomedical, natural, functional, neurological healing. It can be so hard to know, number one, are we going to make it through? You absolutely, positively are. Feel that big hug, that statement. Dads, feel that bro hug from me coming through this podcast, okay? I have seen it take years, and that means it's worth it. Because again and again, I've seen it take years, and you will get through the storm. Stay the course. Keep gathering information. Keep building your team. Now, second, most important thing is really take a deep breath with this episode. Almost imagine you're at the whiteboard, or if you got a blank piece of paper, or even do this and write down everything you've done. Go through all the different options that you have found through practitioners and podcasts and Instagram and Facebook and Google searches, which, by the way, we champion like none other. Okay. I promise you, where you won't find complete answers, truth, hope, empowerment, explanations, and all the things that kids need to heal in the traditional medical system. So you probably don't need to put too much of that stuff on the whiteboard to get this job done. But when you write it all down and you go, man, that's a big job. That's a big project. It is. The health of our kiddos is the way it's designed naturally by God. Their neurophysiological, gastro, immunological, endocrine, social, emotional, cognitive development is a massive project. It's a very long, many years, up to about 18 to 25 years, when going smoothly is what that project takes. And it needs to go not only smoothly as directed and governed by the nervous system, but it needs to go sequentially. So the reason I want you to, at least in your head, or even actually do this, put all the things you've done on a piece of paper, in a Google document, or on a whiteboard, and go, all right, these are all the ducks. How do we line them up? These are all the things I know my child had: high stress pregnancy, had forceps, had vacuum, had C-section, had induction, had the cord wrapped, had manual assistance, was breech, all the things, and then also has all these toxins, has all these parasites, has all this aluminum, has all these toxins, we have mold in our house, we have parasites, all these different things that are there. And you look at how you're going to get that all addressed. The most important thing I can send you into action with from this episode, and I'll continue to come back and beat this drum and sing this song again and again. The most important thing you can do, just like any project, building a house, or probably a better analogy for this one, restoring a house. If you were to fully, entirely restore a house and want it to be the dream house you, your family, and generations live in forever, you wouldn't start with the surface, and you wouldn't just start with the floors, the paint, and the carpet. You would go all the way down to the foundation, and you would make sure that it is secure, and it is complete, and it is fully functioning. The foundation of your kid's healing journey, including detoxification, is nervous system regulation and function. So the final action step I need to send you with is all the concepts, and putting this all together is a complex but also simple conversation. So I want to take it down to the absolute essential next step. You need to find out if your child's nervous system is subluxated, dysregulated, and what's called dysautonomic. If indeed the sympathetics, fight or flight system, is running the show, and if the parasympathetics and the vagus nerve is suppressed and interfered with, like we talked about before. Because if your child's nervous system is stuck in this subluxated, sympathetic overdrive dominant state, their detox pathways are shut down. Their elimination pathways are shut down. If your child is subluxated and there's vagus nerve dysfunction and suppression, which we can find on our insight scans called HRV, then their detoxification and elimination pathways are shut down and suppressed, because when the sympathetics are running the show, gut motility, immune system function, gut motility is shut down, absorption, assimilation, elimination is shut down, immune function becomes imbalanced, and it goes into a neuroinflammatory vicious cycle cascade. So if you've tried to shut down inflammation in your child's body and gotten nowhere, it's a neurogenic inflammatory cascade that, yes, then reaches the CSF, the bloodstream, and the brainstem, and the brain itself, all the way down to the prefrontal cortex, parietal, you name it. It's autism, it's epilepsy, it's pandas, it's POTS, it's real. But there's really something even deeper. And so our neurological insight scans that you can only find inside nervous system focused chiropractors, and the very best ones who are trained to not only have the technology, which is important, but once you have the technology, you need to be able to read these insight scans for parents and for patients and say one of these three things, perhaps in sequence, which is, as you can tell, my favorite word. Number one, your child is subluxated. There is dysfunction, dysregulation, and dysautonomia. Finding the presence of this will be the most exciting, honestly, hope jar overfilling moment in your life, because the bad news is the good news. That means that subluxation, that neurological dysfunction has been there the whole time. So no wonder the detox made things worse. No wonder the detox and the supplements and the homeopathic and the Epsom salts and the saunas and the IVIGs didn't get the job done. There's something foundationally. So the detox kits are just stirring the pot without the body's ability to actually take them and get them out, because that's the nervous system's job, not just the binders, okay? The nervous system, if it's going to direct traffic foundationally, the nervous system has to really be on the job to work with these binders and chelating agents and detox agents to get them out. You absolutely, positively do not want to detox your child without neurologically focused chiropractic care as the foundation while you're doing it. And in fact, I'm kind of already into my last step. You want to increase the amount of chiropractic care you are doing, its quality and its frequency when you're going through a detox pathway. So if we take a patient, and our first job is to go through these scans and then get them neurologically stable, and we measure that through the scans. Oh my gosh, I'm caught before the horse, sorry. Then when we get them there, then we can work with our functional med, integrated med, rockstar partners and say, hey, green light, go. This child's nervous system is now balanced, regulated, and functioning much better. They will not only respond to the detox much better, more effectively and more completely, they will do it more safely and smoothly with less regressions and side effects expected. So the first step of the insight scans is we find out if your child is subluxated, dysregulated, and dysautonomic, and you deserve and must know that information. Second, if yes, we can find out to what degree. We can find the severity of their dysfunctional nervous system, and we can put a personalized, customized care plan based upon the frequency, how often they need to get adjusted, and duration together from that second measure that comes from these insight scans. And third, we can locate what's called the primary or major subluxations. So a PX doc not only has the insight scans and the technology, other chiropractors have it too, but it's like golf clubs. You put golf clubs in Tiger Woods' hands, they're a very effective tool because he's Tiger Woods. You put an insight scanner in my hands, and it's a very effective tool compared to other chiropractors because of my training and clinical experience. And I represent the PX Docs Network because I train them. So they know the care plans, and they know what are called the neurotonal adjustments, where to adjust, how to adjust, where not to adjust, and how not to adjust are essential elements of results. So this mastery of clinical protocols for your child who's gone through neurological storm and chronic illness, you don't want to take them to any chiropractor. You don't even want to take them to just a general family wellness pediatric perinatal chiropractor. You absolutely want to go to our directory, pxdocs.com. Put in your city, your state, your zip code. We even have a regional map on there for other countries. We are training docs as fast as we can in the UK. I'm going to Australia later on. And if you go to the directory and you haven't found someone yet, send us a message, send us a DM. We literally have a training and some resources for you to be able to reach out to local chiropractors who maybe are at least somewhat in this sphere. We get them this information. We get them access to the training and the clinical protocols, and they could be your hope dealer and your neurologically focused chiropractor who can deliver care at this level, which is what you and your kids and your family deserves. We could, through your connection, and I know you moms and dads, you're the ones who are always willing to do the work. We're willing to do it alongside you. So if you find on that directory that we don't have somebody yet, reach out to local chiropractors in your community, especially those that have any bit of kind of family and pediatric specialty at all. Connect them to this podcast, connect them to our platform, and connect them to us, and we'll take it from there. All right, y'all, in closing, let me just recap and go through the very foundational action steps. Once again, there's a few more tips I have for you how to safely and smoothly detox your kiddos in the most natural, effective way and complete way as possible. But I want you to know this. I promise you, before you found this podcast and before you got into this nervous system focused conversation with us, because we're one of the only, if not the only people out there really pushing this conversation out there, I know you knew about toxins. I know you knew about the toxic load theory, allostatic load. I know in your mom, even if you haven't even got online and done a bunch of research, and if you want to know all about the toxic load theory, click on the show notes. We've written an incredible article. We also will link out to Documenting Hope and that incredible team, which I think has this conversation about total load or toxic load theory better than anyone. But you also really need to know about the perfect storm theory and the neurostorm theory, because that so often is why, first and foundationally, kids today are having such a major issue with these heavy metals and these toxins getting trapped in the body. Kids and toxins don't mix, but toxins in our environment and in our medical system and in products everywhere aren't actually new. They've been around for 3 to 4 generations. So if we look at the dramatic rise in autism, ADHD, anxiety, autoimmune disorders in this generation, and maybe the last one, we can't blame toxins alone, no matter what angle we look at. So know the toxic load theory, go after those sons of guns, get ready to get them out of your kid's body, but get the neurostorm out first. Get their subluxation, get their dysautonomia, get their dysregulation out first. And the thing I have to preach to you with this, preach and teach, and with love and with empathy and with compassion and with understanding, say to you, it takes longer than you want. It goes slower than you'd like. And it doesn't, oh my goodness, is this a very under statement? It doesn't happen overnight. There's layers to getting sick, and there's a sequence to getting sick with chronic illness for kids. And it goes over weeks, months, years, the vast majority of patients that we see, and your child probably fits that mold. That wasn't actually supposed to be pun intended, but it fits, okay? From there, if it took years and these sequential kind of convergence and accumulation of things to cause your kiddo to get sick, the same neurological truth, foundations, scientific clinical experience must come true too. That says it's going to take months, and probably for most of your kiddos, years, doing things in a very foundationally first, then specific sequence over time. That's what it's going to take to get your kiddo all the way better. So I would love, if you know me at all and my Raging Bull full speed, this is how God made me energy, I would love to teach you anything other than, which in chiropractic is called principle number 6, healing takes time. Development was supposed to take many, many years. The sickness, the perfect storm, develops over many, many years. So if you combine the need for neurodevelopment to be years and healing to be years, it's a long, roller coastery, whack-a-mole, bumpy, so worth it journey for you, your incredible kiddo, and your family. What else helps? When you go to detox your kiddo, increase the frequency of their chiropractic adjustments. If you are already under neurologically focused care, especially maybe if you've moved on to supportive and wellness care because you've seen some great changes. First off, if you're already into supportive and wellness care, your child's probably regulated and balanced. They shouldn't be in that kind of care until they are. So they're probably ready to do this detox. It's probably a great time from the principles and the take-home lessons of this concept. If you're already there, then your child is probably ready, more in a resilient and what we call ready state to take on these detoxes. So talk to your neurologically focused chiropractor about that. Make sure they know, no matter whether it's a soft homeopathic Epsom salt detox, but especially if you're going deep with something else, talk to your family chiropractor about it and make sure you almost kind of get a new care plan that increases frequency to support the nervous system. Because when those toxins start to get bound, get into the bloodstream and get out of there, you need the nervous system working at 100 primo percent to get that job done effectively and as smoothly as possible. So if your child goes through detoxes and has different struggles or regressions when you kick in different biomedical interventions in the past, then definitely take chiropractic. If you haven't started, get rolling and get that done first. But if you already are into care, increase the frequency. Second, really load them up on bone broth, fermented vegetables, healthy fats. Get those proteins in there. Those are the anti-inflammatory, macronutrient-dense foods that the cells need to rebuild and repair and regenerate when this healing is happening. Obviously, number 3 on this list is probably an easy one you already know, but you got to really push it. Really push fluids. Get that hydration to the next level. Make sure it's filtered, clean, toxin-free water, obviously. Throw some really good high-level electrolytes and those sort of things in there and really work on hydration. Epsom salt baths are one of our favorite things in the world to really create that neurological regulation and help with detoxification. And then get ready for rest. Do everything you can, especially if you're going to kick detox into gear, to get it smoothly, completely, and effectively. Neurologically focused chiropractic care is foundation to that, but you also just want to free up the schedule. You want to say, hey, in case we meet some bumps, in case my child's exhausted, in case they're emotional, even, because again, it's often a natural, normal, needed part of the healing process, allow some space to that. So when you choose to go after these things, especially detoxing your child, do what you can to really say, okay, what's school like right now? What's life like right now? Do we have a little space for a couple of weeks to really honor the healing process, have more sleep, have a lighter schedule, have less stress into your child's life? Guys, there's always hope for healing. There's just a process to it. There's just a sequence to it. There's a foundation to it. That's the nervous system. And then there's these added layers, which for many kiddos who are been exposed to antibiotics, vaccinations, toxins from everywhere, getting those suckers out of the body is essential. I'm the biggest champion of it. I'm the biggest advocate of it, but I'm the biggest, by far, advocate of nervous system foundational repair, healing, and regulation first to get your child's nervous system to a more stable, resilient place so that when the detox kicks in, it's more effective, it's much more smooth, and it can be done completely. That is what you're looking for to really get the most amount of healing happening for your child, every layer of the perfect storm addressed, and do so as smoothly and as sequentially as possible. God bless. Be well, please. You know how many other families are working hard to detox and get these chemicals out. You know how many other families have seen some pretty nightmarish regressions and just new symptoms emerge, motor tics, seizures, anxiety, everything else from this. So please, for those kids and those families, send this podcast everywhere. Send it via text, send it via DM, get it into those Facebook groups, get it into your providers, maybe who are in the biomedical, integrative, functional world. I'll tell you, the people, when I go out and I teach kind of in this interprofessional lane that I'm often in, this has never been taught to us. It wasn't taught to me in any of my training or postdoctorate certifications. So I strongly would encourage you to send this out to your providers as well and say, hey, what do you think about this? Can we talk about this? Is this maybe what's been missing? And providers, if you're listening and you got to this point, reach out to us. Let's chat. Let's learn together. Let's help these kids and families heal together in the right foundational, sequential order. God bless. Be well. See you on the next one.